Hello there, gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of Rolo Shorts. You guys said you like these, so I'm going to keep doing them. Pop that back down. There we go. How's it going? Well, let's see how far we can go with this one today. Today I'm going to talk about chore play. Somebody had asked me to do a particular a detailed overview, let's just say, of chore play. Like, what is chore play? I usually get this question right around February 13th, right around February 12th, February 13th every year. It's usually right around the time that that Valentine's Day is about to crop up. And of course, not to be outdone, 2021 is already in view. So I was sent this. I think I got this on my Facebook site. So let's throw this up there. There it is. Getting her in the mood. How to get your LTR/wife, mostly wife, in the mood, right? I don't know if you can see all this. I'll just read these things down. So it's aphrodisiacs before and after baby, the baby. Okay. So I'm presuming this is baby mama or this is wifey or whatever. Okay. These come up all the time. This is nothing new. And you're going to, by the end of this show today, you will understand what I'm talking about. So anyways, prior, when you're single, this is what gets her in the mood. Now remember, this is being passed around on Facebook and probably some other social media as well. I'm sure you'll probably find this on no, actually I shouldn't say this is this was sent to me on Facebook, but this is actually an Instagram thing. This is from @Mommy's Bundle. And Mommy's Bundle says this: before you got after it, before you getting her in the mood, required flowers, jewelry, a big diamond ring, in case you were wondering, wine, fancy dates, chocolate, massages. Okay. So all of the standard date night fare is what gets mommy in the mood, or what got a girlfriend/fiance into the mood, right? You got to like that. So whenever guys are, hitting you up and saying, Rolo, he doesn't believe in true love. Well, I do, but I just believe that it is motivated on women's part by opportunism, which we can see in all of its humorous glory right here. Next, after baby. Okay. Notice it's not after marriage. It's just after baby. Just pointing that out, just to let you guys have a look at that. After, when my partner cooks, washes dishes, folds the laundry, lets me sleep in, and plays with and takes care of baby. That's what puts mommy in the mood. So let's see, cooking, pretty much any domestic chore is guaranteed to put that woman into a lather of sexual lust for you. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't put this at the bottom here. She says, I mean, the things on the left are still nice. So why not have it all, of course? But the ones on the right, yeah, okay, might put me in the mood, right? And then, of course, Aubrey, who's following her, says, it's called chore play. So the title of today's show, as you might guess, is chore play. And this is not something I came up with, but it is definitely something I've written about in the past, and we're going to find out just how far in the past it was. And it works. Ha ha! Find that funny? Yeah, let me throw this away here. Hang on. I got one other thing I need to show. We're gonna go through actually a very old post of mine today, and aptly titled "Chore Play." There it is. Let me throw this down here. So I'm going to read this to you. Actually, I might even use this as that's the picture of the lady mowing the lawn here. I thought was apropos, since we're all being gender equal, right? We're all being gender neutral and gender equal. So why not, right? Go out there and mow the lawn, hun. One of the more entertaining debates I've had in my post-red pill awareness, pardon me if I get a little sarcastic and a little theatrical today, because I was in rare form when I wrote this particular post. So you'll have to bear with me a minute. You have to put up with my normally sardonic self. One of the more entertaining debates I've had in my post-red pill awareness has been discussing the issue of men doing more chores around the house, quote unquote, so as to more equitably distribute domestic duties amongst couples. The operative beneath this canard is that a more idealized state of gender-neutralized bliss can be attained in couples if only the male partner would feel it incumbent upon himself to assume chores that the female partner feels she's entirely overburdened with. Okay. So before I get too deep into this, remember, this is, as you can see here, I wrote this January 30th in 2013. So this is almost it's over 8 years old. So in case anybody says, well, what this is new stuff. I've never heard of chore play before. But it goes back so much further than that. Let's keep going. So this presents a quandary for the feminine imperative. How would a strong, independent woman, registered trademark, motivate her live-in lover, sometimes known as a husband, as we can still see, to pick up the domestic job slack? Why, of course, resort to the same strategy that works so well in convincing him that monogamy was a good idea. Bait him with the the promise of unrestricted, less restricted sex. It's so simple in its form, so elegant in its function. Now, enter Diane Mapes. Who is Diane Mapes, you ask? Okay. Diane Mapes was this author who wrote, what the heck was I forget what she was writing it for. It was for Today. Wow. Today.com. Today. The show Today. The blog Today. I'm not really sure. Is that still around? I don't know. Now, before I continue here, you have to remember that this article was actually written in 2008 that I'm quoting from right now. And the title of the article is called Chore Play, to give you the implication that doing chores is synonymous with, or is any kind of parallel with, actual sexual foreplay. That's get it? Okay. My literalist brethren, there you are. So here we go. This is the title of the article. It's called Gals Make Passes at Guys Who Wash Glasses. Okay, so this is a quote from that article. I had a party not too long ago where a funny thing happened. One of the guests, a 30-something single straight guy, had to imply that, right? Came out to the kitchen and volunteered to do my dishes. My stars and garters. What? Then he, quote, this is him saying, that way you won't be stuck with a huge mess after everyone leaves, he said, filling the sink with hot, soapy water. As he started scrubbing wine glasses, I glanced over at my guests. Every woman in the room was staring at him with what can only be described as pure, unadulterated lust. Behold the appeal of the dishy man. Yes, that's right, gentlemen. Royce, Roosh, Rollo, we all had it wrong. In girl world, washing dishes is the undiscovered catalyst for gina tingles. Go look it up. Athol K and his male action plan or men's action plan. Get that out of here. It's vacuuming and dusting that inspire what can only be described as unadulterated lust. Okay, side note. Have a look at the date of this article. This article was published February 13th, 2008. So we've been talking about this for a very long time. It's not just 2013 is when I decided to write about this, but I was aware about this when I was working, when I was a moderator at SoSwap. So this is what makes this entertaining. Okay, this is going to be important when we get to today's bonus round. Now, back to the article. Are there any benefits aside from soulful glances and the satisfaction of a sparkling clean floor that exist for men who share the load, laundry and otherwise? That's hard to say, although there are some interesting indicators. A recent survey by Parenting Magazine found that chore play, i.e. husbands pitching in around the house, was what put 15% of moms in the mood. Wow. A whole whopping 15%. Would this mean that the other 85% were turned off? I don't know. Now, I don't want to go too crazy facetious in all of this, but you get the idea here. The idea of chore play is this. It's that if women make passes at guys who wash glasses, right? Guys who are doing dishes, guys who do domestic chores, taking the load off. And I know that there's going to be women who are watching this right now or watching about chore play, and they're going to think I'm being a little sarcastic and a little insulting. And perhaps I am, because this has been around for a very long time, It probably predates 2008, but I couldn't find anything really as relevant as a particular article before that. And remember, I wrote the essay I'm reading from. I wrote this in 2013, so that's 5 years after this article. So, but it gets better. We're going to move on here in just a second. Actually, let's just move on right now. But I wanted to make sure that you guys understand that this is a little bit more serious, and this is a social convention. People ask me, Rollo, can you enumerate some social conventions that are part of the gynocentric social order? Here's one. In fact, I wouldn't put it at the very top of the list, but it's probably within the top 10, let's say. So chore play is definitely a social convention that it's designed to keep guys in the loop. It's designed to keep beta male men, guys who are blue pill and still plugged in, to keep them on the plantation, to give them some sort of hope, to give them like a plan of action. Like, if I just do these things, or if I do more of this, if I invest myself in washing dishes or changing diapers or doing the laundry or doing the things that she would otherwise be preoccupied with, and therefore because she's preoccupied, she won't have sex with me. How do I change? The most common question I get from guys who are blue pilled or just coming into the red pill, let's just say, and they're married or they're awakened while married, the most common question I get is, how do I get my wife to have sex with me again? Matter of fact, I would say that the majority of couples going to marriage counseling, that's probably I would say that's at the top of the list. Money and sex are the two things that cause divorces the most. And really, sex is the thing that causes the divorce. Money happens to be, if that's just a qualitative factor, I think, but it's really more like, does she want to bang him or does she not? Well, apparently, if you're more willing to, I don't know, do the laundry or make sure that it's done correctly, or do dishes or whatever, that's going to consume her with unadulterated lust. I love that line. Okay, so I've been married for over 24 years. On occasion, I perform many domestic duties for no other reason than it was necessary. It was a necessity. Okay, the sink is full of dishes. I'll do the dishes. Okay, my wife works. Okay, she still works, so fine, no big deal. But that's out of necessity. Okay, that's not out of some I better do this. Okay? I have changed my daughter's diapers. I have cleaned toilets. I've done laundry. I've vacuumed. However, in that time, I have never had my wife be consumed with an uncontrollable lust to give me a spontaneous blowjob or pin me down on the kitchen floor, tear my pants off, and ride me to glory after having put away the dishes. All right, let's break the comedy shtick here right now. Neither have I ever heard the words, "Damn, you look so hot ironing my blouse yesterday. Bang me, you stud. Bang me now," while we are in the throes of passion. That doesn't happen. And I think it's ridiculous that we're still, to this day in 2021, still throwing out this trope of chore play. But it's not just that. There's a lot more that's underneath the chore play narrative, and we'll get into that here in just a second. Now, in the interest of being fair, I've never been turned on, nor do I consider it foreplay with my wife when she's the one doing the chores either. I've been greatly turned on by the sight of her in lingerie, sweatpants, a t-shirt, a toilet bowl brush in hand, not so much. However, some of the most memorable sexual experiences I've had with her and other women in the past have come after I've done something particularly masculine, or I performed well doing something that benefited me with a lot of social proof. For instance, my wife seems to like sex after I've had a good heavy lifting day at the gym. She also seems very amorous after a social engagement when I bring her along for my work. Wow. Imagine that. Those things that prompt urgency, maybe a little bit of passive dread. Remember, we were talking about that last week, and probably a little bit of competition anxiety. Very few men, this is just a little side note for today's show. Very few men, particularly after they have gotten into a long-term relationship of some sort, or even whatever it is, like you're spinning plates, whatever. Very few men, especially once they get married, have any occasion to demonstrate higher value. They have very few opportunities to display, higher value, but also to have social proof or third-party passive dread, right? Social proof. What was the other one? Pre-selection. Very, very few instances for that. So that's one of the reasons why I endorse dread, particularly passive dread, for guys who are married. Right? Okay, so that's chore play. I'm gonna keep going here because this is really interesting. I want to kick down a little bit further, because now we're going to go back to the future. I'm going to continue. I'm going to zip down here a little bit here. Okay. So 2008, I need to step back into my DeLorean time machine and fast forward to January 30th, 2013, where, not to be outdone by her 2008 assertions, this is the same author of Chore Play, the exact same media, has a new take on intergender chore assignments. Take it away, 2013, Diane Mapes. Also on the Today Show, on the Today Channel, on the Today blog. Now, this is 5 years later. This is 2013. Hey, fellas, put down those vacuum cleaners and pull out the lawnmowers. Married men may think helping around the house may up their hotness quotient in the bedroom, but what really matters is the type of chore. Heterosexual married men who spend their time doing yard work, paying bills, and changing the oil have more sex than husbands who spend their time cooking. Wow, what a difference 5 years makes. Who spend their time cooking, cleaning, and shopping, according to a new study on the subject of housework and sex. Quote unquote, households with a more traditional gender division of labor report higher sexual frequency than households with less traditional gender divisions of labor. Says Sabino Cornrich, lead author of a study that appears in the February 2013 of the American Sociological Review. Housework is something that people use as a very important way to express gender masculinity and femininity. We weren't surprised to think that sex might be more tied to this type of gender expression. So let me explain this again. Let me get this straight here. Okay. So the yard work, manual labor, auto maintenance, home remodeling, and pressure washing hotness that I replaced with soapy dishwashing, ironing boards, and laundry detergent was actually what inspired what can only be described as pure unadulterated lust. Imagine that. The red pill got it right way back then. So again, okay. All facetiousness aside now. This is what I'm talking about when we're talking about chore play. Chore play is one of those social conventions, or one of those canards, let's just call it, that comes up often, as you can see, 2008 to 2013. And then I can also show, I've actually had people send me other, in response to this essay that I wrote in 2013, I've had people send me other ones saying, oh, they're at it again, right? So like by 2015 or 2016, now chore play is in vogue again. Then 2017, 2018, a little bit after that, now it's, oh, you really need to be more masculine and just do more masculine things around the house. And that's what really amps up the arousal factor. So bear in mind, this is a social convention, and that's the salient point of today's show. The salient point is this, is that you're going to see these social conventions. This is one of them. This is a point of control, and this social convention of chore play is actually a little bit more serious than I think a lot of people want to sort of give it gravity to, right? So what I mean by that is it implies transactional sex rather than validational sex. Pure unadulterated hotness, that's validational sex. That's the sex you had before you got married. That's the sex you had when it was urgent. That's the sex you had when there was sexual tension. That was uncertainty. I constantly go back to this all the time, but the iron rule of Tomasi number 3 is anytime a woman makes you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. That doesn't mean, that doesn't mean you go out and have wanton sex, casual sex with anything on 2 legs. That isn't an endorsement of rampant promiscuity. What it is it's an illustration of genuine desire. Because if a woman wants to have sex with you, she's going to find a way to have sex with you. She's going to crawl under barbed wire and through a 2nd-story window if that's what it takes to get sex with the guy that she really wants to have sex with. I just saw somebody sent me a tweet of a story of a guy who was in jail and his wife or his girlfriend, probably his girlfriend, learned how to fly a helicopter and broke him out of jail by flying the helicopter over the jail, dropping down a rope. He climbs it, gets up into the helicopter. So she had to actually train herself to fly a helicopter. This is it's true. It was I think it was in 1986 or something. This is a while back. Somebody sent me. Maybe it's BS, but that's what I'm talking about. Right? Real, unadulterated, consumed with lust. Right? Consumed with desire for that person. And that's validational sex. And I will end up doing, I've done essays and episodes of validational versus transactional sex, but chore play is transactional sex. And when you get into sort of that domestic routine, that transactional nature of sex comes to the forefront. As I said in the beginning of that essay, that what worked for women, for those women in those wives, those mothers, let's say, what worked for them in a single sense, they translate that over. They shuffle that over into domestic life, into just living together or being married or whatever. And for most guys, it's marriage, right? So when we look at it from the perspective of do these things, honey, and I'll want to bang you, guys are Johnny on the spot, particularly if all they've ever known in their life is a transactional frame of reference for sex. If that's the only frame of reference that they have, that seems like a good idea and it seems to make sense, particularly if that guy went into that marriage or that relationship from a blue pill beta perspective, thinking that he's going to be an equal partner, and that equal partnership means that he's got to do dishes. And it means he's got to do domestic chores, and it means he's got to sort of step in. Now, I've got statistics that show that men, as far as doing domestic chores and jobs around the house, has very much increased since like the mid 90s. I don't have it handy right now. I probably should have put that up. I'll see if I can link something for you in the description about that. But that's neither here nor there when men see sex as a transaction. Now, here's the dangerous part of all of this. Women are very vocal, particularly when it comes to dating, particularly when it comes to guys who get bitter when they get rejected. They want men to be mature. So when a woman says, "Hey, this is not working out. I just want to be friends. I know we went on a couple dates, blah, 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 but, can we just be friends, right? Or whatever." And the guy loses his spurgs out, right? He loses his mind and starts, berating her online. Like that kind of stuff is what women kind of worry about. And then the first response people have when that guy does that is they want to pile on, as white knights usually, but it's women as well. And the first thing out of their mouths is, "No one owes you sex. You are never owed sex. You are not sex should never be an obligation. Sex should never be a transaction, right? You do these things and it shouldn't be transactional." But yet we see over and over and over again that the nature of sex is either validational or it is transactional, and it is largely transactional right now, because if you can turn a buck off of the transactional nature of sex on OnlyFans, women will be glad to go and do that. They will start college classes at community colleges to teach you how to better leverage the transactional nature of sex, how to commodify yourself, how to objectify yourself, and then at the same time say, "I can't believe men would objectify me." Oh. Okay, so again, pearl clutching 101. So there is a transactional nature of sex. We don't want to call women prostitutes anymore. We want to call them sex workers. Whatever the euphemism that you want to use, I got it. Okay. And the fact remains, there's a transactional nature of sex. Men are problem solvers. We are deductive problem solvers. So if a woman says A plus B equals sex, then I will do A plus B so I can get sex. That's what most guys think about. That's the frame of reference. When we talk about guys who have this idea that they need to build themselves up and mold themselves into the most perfect husband or potential boyfriend that they possibly can be, that's how you get what I call betas in waiting. You get guys who go through their 20s and maybe into their early 30s thinking that if they build themselves up to a certain standard, that at some point along the way in women's phases of maturity, that he'll be the acceptable best candidate for the job. And that's exactly what it turns out to be. It's a transactional nature of sex. So, ladies, if you don't want men to think that they are owed sex for services rendered, stop telling them they are. Stop reinforcing things like chore play. Stop saying, if you did more dishes and you did more things around the house, then I'd be horny. No, you wouldn't. First of all, we can see it black and white, study after study, research after research, that it's not doing those things around the house. It's not wearing an apron. It's not washing dishes. It's not doing laundry or changing the diapers. If anything, that's a turn off. And we can see statistically, research-wise, that is the God's honest empirical truth. There are gender differences. You want that guy to, I love it when women show these pictures of like these really ripped ass bodybuilder guys, and they're like wearing nothing but an apron, and he's like, ironing the whatever, her laundry or whatever, her shirts or blouses or whatever that. And women get off on that because it's a power dynamic is what it is. But you have to understand this, ladies, and this is for you. If you don't want men to feel as if they are owed sex, if you don't want to be obligated to having sex with that guy, stop reinforcing social conventions that promote that idea, because that's exactly what's happening here. If you did these things, I'd get laid. In fact, there's a meme or there's a joke going around right now that guys who like are washing dishes, they're just kind of like, giggity, giggity, giggity. I'm washing some dishes, honey. You know what that means, right? There's that mentality. It's negotiating desire is what it ends up being. And you cannot negotiate genuine desire. And that's all it really boils down to is if you do these things, here's my terms. Here's my negotiated terms of negotiation. Here's my negotiated terms for wanting to have sex with you, or at least pretending I want to have sex with you. Do the laundry, fold the sheets, right? Change whatever it is that she doesn't want to do, whatever domestic chores that she doesn't want to do, and you have to do in addition to, I don't know, mow the lawn, chopping wood, fixing the cars, power washing the house. I do a lot of power washing. But we want to take the load off of wifey so that she'll want to have sex with me. Okay? So, ladies, if you don't want men to feel, if you are no longer entitled to say men shouldn't ever think that they're owed sex. Well, if that's the case, then you need to reinforce social conventions that align with that, rather than what transactionally works best for you. Do I have any faith that that's going to happen? Absolutely not. But that's where we're at right now. That's the conflict. The conflict is this: if the guy feels like he's obligated or feels like he's owed sex, or even if there's sort of like this unspoken contract. If I do these things, right? There's what's called a foodie call right now. Women who will basically use beta male men on dates, quote unquote dates, thinking that they're going to actually get somewhere so that they can go have, I don't know, lobster thermidor or whatever the hell, whatever's an expensive meal, and they go off and bang the hot guy that they were really going to go bang that night anyways. So there you have it. That's what chore play is, and it is a negotiation. But more so, it is kind of I think today, anyways, a dangerous precedent, let's just say. Because men, and particularly the last two generations of men, were deductive problem solvers, but they're also, most guys today, particularly online anyways, are going to be very autistic and literalist. And I mean that in sort of like a subjective sense. I don't mean like literally autist, but if I do these things, I can solve my reproductive problem. If I do this, Men are looking for that plan. We're, like I said, we're problem solvers. If you tell us where to go and what to do, we're going to go and do that. If you don't want men to think that they're not owed sex, then stop giving them some sort of incentive to think that in the first place. Do yourself no favors when you do that, ladies. And then lastly here, men, if don't ever believe, always, first off, look at it this way, guys. Chore play is words, and the medium is the message. So watch what she does. Watch what really works. Watch what is behaviorally working for you that inspires or incentivizes validational sex. Not, I bought you this, let's have sex. That is Captain Save-A-Ho, what I call the savior schema. Okay. And that is, if I do these things, services rendered means I'm going to get sex. If your only frame of reference is a transactional nature of sex, then you need to start looking at behaviors. Not words, not like, here's what I do to get that. Because anytime you are dealing with women's words, especially when it comes to getting sex or when it comes to being intimate, let's just say it doesn't have to be sex. Anything that's intimate with that woman, anytime you're using words, you are negotiating desire. Okay. Open communication. No. Polarity, passive dread. But again, all of those are behavioral analysis. Let's just say it's analyzing what the behavior is and understanding what that behavior is incentivized by and what's prompting that behavior and what you did that prompted that behavior. So like I said before, the hottest sex you're going to have in an LTR is not going to be date night sex where you came up with this, idea to go and throw flower petals at some, the penthouse suite of the hotel that you want, you got the kids away with the sister or the mom, and you're going to go to the steakhouse and have a nice dinner, and surprise her with rose petals all over the bed or whatever the hell it is in the jacuzzi suite at the hotel. On date night, what you're doing is you're trying to manufacture romance, and that is contrived. The hottest sex you're going to have probably is going to be the sex you have before you get married, because there's a sense of urgency to that. The hottest sex you'll have probably after you're married is when you almost break up. I hate to say that. I wish it wasn't that way. But the hottest sex you're going to have is when you can inspire a sense of urgency and a sense of passive dread in women. And again, that sort of tags on to last Wednesday's show. So if you have any questions about that, you can go and reference that as well. So there you have it. That's chore play for today. I will be doing a few more of these shorts. I'm going to see if I can do some 1-minute ones, little hashtag shorts for YouTube this week. Other than that, I'm going to be getting into some other things later on. We might be talking about infidelity a touch. If I can do another one, I will this week, but that's good enough for today. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on Saturday on Rule Zero at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time.